right, let's get it started, everybody. Let's get it going. It's Sunday, and this week is going to be incredibly busy. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just going to be quite busy. So welcome in, everybody. I'm curious to get your thoughts on what you're going to do, what strategies you're planning. DJ has got a great strategy video coming out tomorrow morning for live base defense, which is becoming something a little bit more relevant now that Incursions seems to be happening multiple times a month, which not necessarily happy about, but I guess it is what it is. And yeah, that's I'm excited about that video popping out. I would have made the same, and maybe I'll make it, but I'm going to give his a few days to run first. But a player has actually created a PDF guide for that, which is really neat. I've talked about live base defense for years. Some of my earliest content was live base defense, but somebody actually put together a well thought out document for it, which is pretty stinking neat. So you're confused how Infinite Incursion works. Where can I find out more? Well, this would be the place, Jen. Now, the easiest way is just for you to ask any questions that you have right now. If you've got any questions, ask them here. That'd be the quickest way for us to try to answer things. But I've made several videos about Incursions. But if you have questions, you ask them, we'll answer them. Good to see everybody coming in. Lube, good to see you, man. Lube, I saw you tagged me this morning. I need to do another officer tool video. I know a couple people have been making them and they've been doing a great job, but it's been a while since I've made an updated one. So yeah, I need to do that as well. Easy answer, go Ray bases. Rating is a heavy mechanic in Incursion. I'm curious to see if they do any points adjustment to rating this go around versus last go around, which I'm going to have to wait and see. Obviously, I'm going to have to, have it up and go. And they don't typically share, and typically it's not even more. They usually almost never share what the scoring metrics are going to be before we actually see an event. So we're just going to have to all wait together to see what that's going to look like. And hey, Skippy, good to see you. What do you think about the double 22,000 power gain Incursion prep events? So they did make Incursions prep events far easier to get in and participate in. And that is, I think, a win. And hopefully it is. This was a major point of feedback. If you remember from the production, from what we put together, and I can put it back on the screen if y'all want to. The survey that we did with the community, I put together a presentation that covered it. But one of the biggest points as a negative is actually the second highest negative thing mentioned to the dev team when we did that survey was that the ability to get the conduits is too difficult. And I would like to say, and I would like to be corrected by y'all if y'all don't agree, that they made it far easier this time. So I have seen both my servers really easily going through. I think everybody should have 20 Incursion conduits, but you do have to complete at least an SMS or build a ship or complete a research. They added a little bit easier way to jump in on this. So I think the conduits is something they did listen to. So if you're keeping track on your bingo card of Scopely listening to see if they actually get bingo this month, listening to the negative of Incursion conduit sourcing seems to have improved, but I definitely want to get everybody's opinion because I am not on every server, unlike one content creator, Ripper, who probably is on every server. Just a guess, but the server in your Incursion XSLB prep is the server you're going to be going against when it happens. Dougie, that is what we're all typically going with right now. We've got server 14 on our list with server 20, which we were with server 10 last time. Now, server 20 lost and server 10 lost last time we were both playing. I'm sorry, server 14 lost. So we'll see if we can actually have somebody go 1-1 or we're going 0-2. I have improved conduit sourcing. Thank you. Tomorrow says it's more than a little easier. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I really pressed in my conversation with them about Incursion when we did that presentation was that you basically need to give the Incursion conduits away, because you want to make sure everybody who wants to participate can participate. That was a very heavy point that I tried to lay into them, that, this time we got this domination event, which I can't complete and will complete because I'm going to do some officer upgrades here on the screen. But the first event, the second event were very difficult to complete last time. So we'll see how that rolls out. What ship is good for level 20 gens? I guess it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. The Franklin, obviously something you want to be working on so that you can get your swarms up and done. But are you asking for PvP? Because technically the answer is the Kira, but not many people are going to want to use the Kira for that because of the resources it takes. You typically save towards later, but it depends on where you're at and what you're wanting to do. So just have to wait and see how that goes. Doug says, not sure why they decided to keep it a secret and not sure what you get out of that to begin with. So the logic is they just want to see if people react differently when it's a surprise versus not. I mean, I don't know, necessarily care either way, I guess. Yeah, I think it's fine either way. I think if you're going to hide it though, you can't reveal it in the XSLB, which kind of ruins the point. You know, I think that kind of ruins the point. So is there a crew for Strange New Worlds that attacks swarms? Yeah, there is, Andre. We made one when we talked about Strange New World Spock. A Strange New World Pike with Strange New World Spock running full synergy versus swarms is a very good crew. I run Strange New World Pike, Strange New World Spock, and Jayla. That crew is actually up right now. This is the crew that's, for me individually, the best one. Now, things roll into these equations. Research, where you're at level-wise, what level hostiles you're hitting. So for the ones that I'm hitting in swarms, this is my best crew. But it will vary player to player by a little bit. You can just run Strange New World Pike, Strange New World Spock, and full synergy here. So just run a full synergized crew and you typically get really good results. But Jayla is a key swarm card, which is one of the reasons that so many people complain that she's not better sourced. And I don't really count the Flash Pass as good sourcing for Jayla yet, though I do appreciate the Flash Pass sourcing of Jayla. Flash Pass sourcing of Jayla is appreciated, but still, it's so difficult to get an officer that's been out for so long. Here, I gotta do some upgrades. So we're gonna take a look at some officers that I can upgrade. Grush, I just saw, is one that I'm gonna go for. And Grush might be the only one I'm about to upgrade. Harrison, oh, Harrison, that's definitely one. Promote Harrison. Do you recommend upgrading the Green Borg officers fully? Tricky. We'll go over those in just a second. Short answer, generally not, because it takes independent credits and the probes, but I'll cover them here in a second. Let me upgrade a couple of these officers so we can start working on that. But I'm gonna say no. Lube with a big emphatic no, LOL. Dang, Lube. Geez, don't have to be so harsh on it. Be so harsh on it. I want to explain why. I don't want to just like berate them. See, that's what you get when Lube comes in here. He's berating people. All right, let me upgrade this. Oh my gosh, it hurts so bad to spend those independent credits, but I do like the warp range. It is useful. It is useful. And I need to do this to finish this event anyway, so nothing else. Grush gives me really good stats. One thing I like about Grush, look at those stats right there. Even, I'm about to hit 3,000 per. Look at that. That's nice. That's nice. In fact, Lube, you're here. Where does Grush rank in the overall stat column? Lube, you're here. Put you to work. Put you to work. Where does he work at in the stat column? All right. Let me go over the Borg real quick. Sort by group. There's one of them, but I want them all together. There you go, Lube. Thank you. So if we come down here, y'all don't remember, by the way, some of the days, some of y'all haven't been around them. There was the time where we couldn't sort officers by different stats and traits, and we had to actually keep sheets of who had the highest stats by each bracket. I mean, there were dark days in Star Trek back in the day. There were some dark days. All right, so where are my Borg officers? Here we are. So we've got these two here, 8 and 9. Now the key to 8 and 9 in terms of what makes them useful is their captain's ability. So like 8 here, when fighting, 8 increases the critical chance of dealing a critical hit, and then you've got 9, which reduces critical hit of opponent by 10%. The captain's abilities are what make either of those good. So like if you're going against a Borg Armada, 9 of 11 can be very useful. Also, when are they going to actually put something on her hand? It's so disrespectful. But the officer abilities really aren't that great, and because they're uncommons, they're not going to get a lot in stats. So no, I don't typically, ever recommend upgrading them to max. There's just no point to it, in my opinion. But that does come down to your play style and what works for you. Also, I'm going to go ahead and upgrade Lorca here, just blowing through more indie credits, but I do want to get these upgraded. And then I have to upgrade my officer tool, or update my officer tool, which has a new feature, by the way, that I absolutely love, where it coordinates and coincides with Spock's Club, which is, I think, a fantastic pairing. Fantastic pairing. Just as I still need 100 shards to get Jayla, and I've been playing for 8+ months. Yeah, exactly. Now I have Jayla. I have Jayla barely. I barely have Jayla, but yeah, it was a lot of work to get there. It's a lot of work to get there. Is there going to be a new version released Tuesday, possibly with the refinery improvement, or are we getting screwed on that too? So they did move the refinery increase to August. At least that's what Eco has said. It was still supposed to come in. They told me like the 27th of July it was going to happen. I'm like, are you sure it's going to happen? So I guess that is what it is at this point. But they said it's going to come in August now. Now we just wait for it to come in August. And I don't really know what to say beyond that. But they have said, they've been very, very clear that it is still coming. Loop, thank you. I'm going to grab that real quick. And let's see. So using the officer tool, Grush ranks as one of the top attack-based officers. I'm curious where he balances in all the other ones. But the good thing about Grush is that he has a good balance everywhere. So for example, if you look at, say, Michael Burnham, who is an epic officer, she maxes out attack at 5,900. Grush is at 54, but she has 2,000 of the other two stats, whereas Grush has 5,000 plus of each stat, which is really, really nice. Here, I'll actually put it on the screen so y'all can see it. Way I'm not just kind of talking to you. So if you have never used this tool before, I really encourage everybody to check out both Spox Club and the officer tool, but specifically right now, just referencing the officer tool. So this is the numbers here. You see the top attack officer is 11 of 11, which is, well, is what it is. Then you got Kane, Contrast, but what more importantly, look at the total numbers of stats. And you come down to Grush here at the bottom. Even though he's at the bottom, he has over 15,000 total. I mean, it's just, he's well spread everywhere. He's a good balance to get anything. And he's one of the few epic officers that free-to-play can just easily source every day if they're doing their syndicate. So that's handy. So that's why I wanted Lube to grab that. Lube, I appreciate it. Is there any chance for the XSLB match isn't your Incursion match? Harrison, there's a chance for that, of course. I mean, Scopely hasn't said that for sure how you're doing Incursions is your XSLB partner. We're all making the assumption that, but sure, that is a possibility. Here, let me get these ships out real quick. Hard to get Grush off a minor. He is. Grush is a primary card for me right here. You see, I've got him on my Meridian. And he basically never comes off. Warp range 110 on a tier 8 Meridian is pretty freaking nice. Keep in mind, I do have plus 10 warp range from being level 42. At level 42, you get the mission Angel in Disguise, while also allowing you to get the next part in that mission, or next part in that research tree. So I have got 10 range more than you would have if you were, say, level 39. But that's the benefit of hitting level 42. I may be ignorant, not an IT guy here, for making a change to the regular refinery output. Can't be more than changing a little code, right? So Joseph, how they actually have to do it is adjust the loot tables themselves. And it's not necessarily the difficulty of it. It's the scope of the project. There are a lot of loot tables, different levels, all this, not necessarily refinery level, because your refinery level doesn't change what's in the loot table. I remember it just changes some of the percentages in the loot table. So it's more just the time to go through each individual one and make manual changes from what I have been told. Now, I have never actually seen the coding side of their loot tables. I do have a rough idea of all the loot tables, but that's anyway the logic that's been given. Are we going against the same server? Do not believe so, Derek. And that's something that I have really tried to, I guess, hint at. If you've been paying attention to the last few streams, even before the XLB came out, I'm like, yo, you might not be seeing the same opponents. It's the whole plan was to kind of have like a rotation. So ops changes contents, refine changes to RNG percentage. Correct, Lube. And I don't remember what those percentages are. I know the RNG is extremely low, even upgrading your refinery, but it does improve it a very small degree. Yeah, no problem, Joseph. Did anything ever come of my refinery data project? Sadly, no. And it really sucks because the refinery data project, if like Lube and Stewie had been around, probably would have been perfected. And you know what? Maybe we can run it again. But the data never actually ended up getting sorted enough. There was enough 3 or 4 people who were offering to help, and then that help never actually translated into help. And that, look, things happen. All of this work comes from volunteers, so I can't get mad at it, and I'm not mad at it. But sadly, some of those projects just never really came to fruition. All right, interesting how we may be going up against a new server, yet they haven't taken our last spawn off the leaderboards. Now that also is something I'm waiting on to hear back. What's the logic there? But we are dealing with Scopely, so. Well, Mike, I am so glad you're getting to enjoy the Walt Disney Resort. I have never been to any Disneyland, any Six Flags, any Universal Studio. I've never been to any of that. So hopefully you and the kids are having a fantastic time. I have no problem meeting new servers. I actually am really excited about that. You know, it's I love meeting new players, and that's exciting to me. Hey Cosmo, good to see you. Any server 30 players in the chat? If the XLB is accurate, it looks like server 26 might be swapping servers with you all. So there are, if y'all are not in my Discord, we do have players from basically every Discord in my Discord, so you can get to meet some of them, and everybody's been exchanging, you know, Discord links to various Discord servers for different servers. And this is the part of Incursions I really like and liked from the beginning. There are so many other parts of Incursions that I feel like I've got to get better and improved and altered and changed. But some things that have just been from the very beginning I've enjoyed is the community and getting to interact with other people. That I really do love. So I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing server 14 if that's how in fact they lay it out, which I'm pretty confident that is. I love the idea of getting to meet and talk to new people. Are you going to participate in XSLB with your Ops 23 account? If so, what are your upgrade options for score points? So I do not plan on it. But what I mean, I don't plan on like being an active raider or PvPer. Will I actually log in and say hey to everybody? I will do that. But on server 63, I do not plan on doing anything crazy in terms of active participation. That's going to focus mostly on server 20. And I might actually stream it on server 20. We didn't the first time around, but we might do it the second time around. Hey, Borg, good to see you, man. I see you brought your Gladius. I'm going to bring my pylon to protect my poor little Meridian. My poor little Meridian. All he's trying to do is just work his butt off and give Rev what he needs. More stuff. Need more stuff. What was the thing in your Fed faction store? The first thing in the store? Oh yeah, let me show you, Mark. So that has to do with the new Galaxy Research Tree extension. And that is the Federation Allegiance key. You turn this in for Rudinium particles and Federation credits. You actually have one for each faction. You can collect and turn in once a week. And you see last I did it with the Romulan Allegiance, and that's really all there is to it. Now, I'm still not a fan of that corner of the research tree. I'm not supporting it until the economy improves. That's a personal decision that I'm making. I'm focusing on a lot of other research, which I have plenty of research to focus on anyway. So it's not like I'm like holding myself back. Rev has got so many researches that he needs to work on. But yeah, that's why I'm doing it. And hey, Hummin, good to see you, man. And yeah, we love Sunday streams. I love Sunday streams anyway. It's like we're up against 12 this time. So I know 10 is going against 8, if I remember right. And I'm debating making a place on my server to list all these for different people, just because we're getting more and more. Gotta look at all these. I finally got, I think I'm at M60, by the way. Due to all of you are griping, complaining at Rev, I'm finally at M60. Need to get his stellar research done before doing Galaxy extension. That's actually accurate, Ace. I need to do that. So I have plenty of time, and I'm working on it though. If y'all noticed at the beginning of this video, I did just launch my second Stella, so I can start working on leveling that one up, because I've got my big-ish Stella now, tier 6, and I've got this new baby tier Stella that we can start working on. So let's we do that real quick before I forget it. Not that I necessarily am going to forget, but I'm at M59. I'm sorry. Right here, y'all. I'm at M59. I thought I made it M60. I thought I'd made it to M60. I'm working on it though. Hey, Masago, how you doing? 75 is against 77. I did see a couple of the boards that were really lopsided, which is fine, I guess. But I did see a couple of servers that there was one matchup that the server was about 1.5 years older than its opponent, which seems a little odd. But I guess we'll just have to see how the pairings work, because we talked about power-wise, and I really try to emphasize this. Power does not in itself guarantee you a victory for your server. And a great example is server 20. Server 10 absolutely blew server 10 out, server 20 out the water. Server 20 has way higher players and everything. So activity is a big thing. How much you can raid, all of that has a huge impact on it. So there you go. When do G4 ship blueprints start showing in away teams? Depends on where you're at level wise and rep wise, but not very soon. It is here. Let me back out of here while we got the Stella upgrading. So just to give you a visual example, I'm going down to my waste store, and Lube, who was here, actually showed, we shared this last time. So like you'll see that I have the Valdor, the Vortivore, and the Klingon one. I don't even think I have the Botchor show. Oh, I do have the Botchor showing, but it's typically 80% of the rep you need and one level before is generally how it works out to be. So 80% of the rep you need and then one level before. So that makes sense to you. So if you had to get to 10 million rep, just for an example, that means you would need to be at least 8 million rep that you would start seeing it. You're at M90 at level 39. Simon, you're doing so much better than I did as an early player. That's fantastic. That's something that you should, thumbs up yourself, pat yourself on the back for. That's great. I'm not going for the Botchor, though I guess I could. I'm really ignoring those miners until I get a much higher level. If you ever stop building, scrapping level 26 ships, you really don't, Skippy. I actually have a couple sitting in here. So there's my Armada setup. I've been going for a loot run. But if you come down here, I have got my regular D3 tier 6 out of tier 9 that I'm working on. I have to start working on the XP leveling. But I've got that one. Then I've got, I thought I had another Mayflower built, but I do not see it. So I must have already built and scrapped it. That means I got another Mayflower, but I love having all 3 D3s. I love having all 3 D3s. It just makes me happy. M140, level 45. I mean, D7, I'm not going to step on it like I can't go any faster. But I am working on it actively to try to be less newbie. Try to be less newbie. M89 Ops 39, mainly as I'm focusing on that tree for building efficiency. And that's what you should do, Steven. That's what I tell people to do. That is smart. That is good gameplay. And mathematically, you save yourself a lot of time. I had somebody in the comments section the other day on YouTube really angry, like, you're wrong. Why do you push 39 over 41? You get so many more resources. And in a lot of ways, you do get more resources at level 41. For example, the battle pass alone switches over to giving you a lot more. But the biggest thing for me at 39, especially if you're doing what Steven's doing, is your efficiency. You're going to save so many resources if you get your efficiencies done, but also leaderboards. Be able to dominate leaderboards at 39 that I don't think enough people take value in. And obviously, if everybody runs a strategy, then it's difficult. But here's the good thing. Even as quote unquote big as Rev is, like the 37,000 people on YouTube and reaching 80,000 people a month, I'm still only 10 to 15% of the entire game. So it's impossible for everybody to be listening to Rev. So I try to make it to where everybody can take advantage of some really cool stuff. Are you planning on getting the Stella skin? I'm not actively trying for it, no. I'm not actively trying for it, no. Would I love to have it? Yes. I'd love to have everything in the game. And one of the videos that's been requested of me is to make a video about sourcing skins and the refits and talking about them. And I'll do that probably in a video this week as we go through Incursions. But yeah, that's the big one for me. And we got Apex this week, which there you go. Opportunities. What level should you have faction miners before you go into level 40? So I would say you want tier 7 or tier 8 faction miners. I'll show you why. So here's my Antares, which is about to get popped. So let me go ahead and hit the recall button. Weird Borg is running through. But if we hit manage and you scroll here, so you see level 42, I have a warp range of 70 with the tier 7 Antares. So, and hey, Blue Dog, great to see you. I'm got to send you a picture, by the way. I did get the samples and looks great. Obviously small, but it's a sample. And I'll send that to you. Remind me after stream. But this is why I go for about tier 7, because this means I'm getting into early deep space with warp range 70. And if depending on the crew, like if I have Grush on there, I can go much farther. So that has a lot of value to me, and I can mine just as fast with that for 4-star materials because of officers that I could with the 4 stars, and saving a lot of resources, not dumping them into the Botchor or the Vortivore or the Hydra, which I don't have because I'm not Fed aligned. So did you get the Cerritos refit? I do have the Cerritos refit, John. It is a nice little Cerritos Doritos now, and I love it. You just got the Enterprise. Congratulations, Lisa. That is very exciting. Look, I remember getting my Enterprise the first time, and that was a great moment for me. That was a great moment for me. Let me see. You get it. Yes, Ian. You need so much uncommon crystal, so much. Yeah, you do, which is also one of the reasons why you don't need to like make a tier 7 faction miner at level 32. But as you're leveling it up, and if you're at 39, where would I say you want at least one of your faction miners at? Tier 7. That's where I would say, hey, you probably want to get it to at least here, and you're going to notice better gameplay from it. You don't necessarily need to max it. And if you're a free-to-play player, one thing that I really push to free-to-play players is don't worry about maxing every ship, or almost maxing any of them except scrapping ships. Reason why? You look at like let's take a look at an Enterprise, or even let's take a look at a faction miner. The cost of that last tier of what it's going to grab you and then what you're going to get benefit from it is usually not worth it, in my opinion, for that particular player. So like if you're going to max out a Antares, tier 1 to tier 8 is going to run you 5,000 uncommon refined gas and 23,000 crystal. Now, if you want to go from 8 to 9, it's another 8,000 crystal. So you basically spend a 30% just to get that last tier done. Do you need that? What is that last tier really going to give you? Because at tier 8, your cargo bay is like naturally something like 600,000. That doesn't count any of your researches or anything. And then if you go up one more tier, you get like 750,000 cargo bay naturally. So 100,000 more cargo, natural cargo, for 8,000 more uncommon doesn't seem worth it. It's very relative though. So you just find these stopping points, and tier 7 is a really healthy, you're getting great value without putting in tremendous amount of resource for all ships. And it's also why, even in my video where I talked about my Enterprise and Augur at camping at 38, 39, or camping at 39, where I also really only like, look, tier 8's fine, tier 7 maybe, if you want to max it, you can, but there's definitely a value to just getting them to a sweet spot, especially the miners, and saving those. And like Tomb World says, you can do, if you're gonna do an upgrade for anything, warp engines, because that's what it ends up really being the kicker. Is as a player, you can improve almost any ship with officers. You've got the Ferengi crew, great for miners. You got the Borg crew for miners. You got the regular miner crew. You have so many different miner crews that you don't need to just go crazy and worry about like the mining percentage of your Antares or your, Cavort. That's not what's really going to carry the ship. Warp and cargo, even necessarily the mining laser, I guess, but you're talking about spending a lot of uncommons that are you getting that much of an extra bonus for it? And that's kind of the head math that you have to work through when you're going through this. And just like I said, and here, let me give you what the total cost of tier 7 to tier 9 for an Antares is 17.6 thousand uncommon gas. The Antares needs 31.2 thousand uncommon gas to upgrade to max. 17,000 of that comes in the final 2 tiers. So getting it to tier 7, then upgrading 1 or 2 pieces, you basically spent half the cost and aren't really losing that much value. So does all that make sense? Fender says tier 4 is sufficient. I don't say tier 4 is sufficient for a faction miner. Maybe if you got a secondary one, but what about ship XP for miners? Is it worth it for increased mining speed? Short answer is yes, but do I actively go out and focus on that? Not necessarily, because usually I'm focusing with that on my scrap ships, like my level 26 ships and my Stella. Those are the ones that are always just needing more and more work. And those are the ones I'm going to focus on when it comes to grinding, personally. But do you want to get every advantage you can? Of course. But I wouldn't say if you hit tier 7 in your Antares that you're trying to get all those levels done in one run. Fender says I have all 3, tier 4 sufficient. I have all 3, and tier 4 is not sufficient for me. Now, if it's sufficient for your gameplay, that's fine. But me in the low 40s, that's not sufficient. It's not sufficient. But I don't want to be summoning my miners with my discovery. I feel like that's a waste of my go-go juice. It's a waste of my go-go juice. But it's all relative, and I will say that because now the bonus refinery is guaranteed every month, I have put more of an onus on mining. I don't like mining, but I do make sure I get at least my daily done every day because I want to have something in my holds for when that comes around. So I have I mean, I'm mining 3-star and 4-star. I'm only might be doing one a day, but I'm mostly focusing on pulling so that I can get, see my ore, 1.5 million here. I want to be able to pull for my bonus refinery because that's guaranteed uncommons and rares. So some things in the game have changed that even I'm focusing more on doing things that I normally wouldn't. So at least that I wouldn't before. Since getting my second amalgam, I've quit using my faction miners. There's some logic to that, Blue Dog. And like I said, you can use officers to supplement other ships to make them better miners. I have an amalgam. My amalgam would get destroyed every time I tried to do that. I have to use faction miners, just the nature of my server. I would not be able to get away with using an amalgam. I wouldn't be able to get anything mined. So it can work on some servers. Depends on where you at. Depends on where you're at. Can you explain to me how the reputation exocomp works? Sure, John. What specifically is the question? Because it works. Every exocomp in the game is basically a research. That's the easiest way to describe it. So if you've got an exocomp that does rep bonus, it's the exact same as if we go into this research tree, and then I'm going to come over to the galaxy tree, research, galaxy, and then let's just scroll and find like Klingon apprentice. So right now I've got a 32% bonus to Klingon points when defeating a hostile. So I get 32% more for killing a hostile. If you got an exocomp that does plus 70, add those two together, 102. Easiest way to describe it. Easiest way to describe it. And that's really all there's to it. Now you've got to add all them together because they're not all there. I mean, in terms of, there's more than this one. There's three researches. I'm finger counting, so I don't look stupid. Yeah, I think 3. It's 3 or 4. And those are all going to play a role in it. And I've shown this on my personal, when I go through my researches and I've shown my grinding, you can see the different points allocated and how I get them. But that's why. And everything adds together research wise. So 30% is not really 30% because you have other researches doing things. And I know that's annoying. Oh, dang, I didn't mean to claim my Romulan that time. Oh, well. Oh, well. Love having the 5th dock and 3rd research queue. I do as well. I mean, when it comes to spending money in the game, I like things that are permanent. Officers, second builder, research, those are permanent. So if you're willing to spend money, those are definitely some of the first things to point towards. But even then, it's still like, hate spending money. But who doesn't hate spending money? Well, we know who doesn't hate spending money. But I'm not a big fan of spending. But, sometimes it's worth it. All right, here's my Harrison. I'll put you out right now because you're not doing anything else. Scopeless dropped the ball for free-to-play players. How, Nick? How have they dropped the ball? We're definitely here to hear all those complaints. Can a negative rep exo... Oh, hold on. Take you back from a lock-in? No. Once you hit the locks, you're locked in. You can't back out of the lock. Once you hit the locks, you're locked in. You don't have any way to cap your rep. Since Trilock, I've not been going for rep, but I've naturally got my ROM to 30 million. I can't get mine on the 4-star yet. Go kill lots of ROMs to lower your rep. There's the only fancy trick you can do. That's the only real fancy trick you can get away with there. Probably not the answer you want. I'm actually going to mine something else because I haven't mined other things in a while. So you've got the Ferengion, so we can actually mine anything really. Let's go mine some crystal. I feel like the free-to-play has gotten better over the last 6 months. I would agree. Like over the past 2 years, the free-to-play experience has improved tremendously in my opinion in terms of things that they give out and source. But I do still want to hear complaints because my experience and my opinion is not the only opinion. It's something I really try to stress lately. Like Rev's not the only opinion in the game. So Rev's not always right. It's not always wrong either. It's a mix. There's multiple opinions. And if somebody's feeling like they're getting left out or it's not being right on their server, I want to know about it so we can see if we can work on changing it. Well, the combat exocomp say 80% battleship damage. Is that versus or for? That's for. So if you do a plus 80% exocomp, that's for your battleship to get a bonus to damage. For your battleship to get a bonus to damage. Let me see what I'm at here. Good. Now we can move down to the 35. I'll say that my free-to-play starter on EU112 has shown me that free-to-play path early on is huge compared to what it was. There's only one thing that I still gripe at heavily for early gameplay, and that is officer sourcing. I still feel that officer sourcing for early gameplay is not near sufficient enough to catch up. The economy has improved, sourcing of ships has improved, but I still struggle with the officer acquisition early on. Nicholas says I can't get anything done. I'm level 27 and can't get any of my missions done as far as hostiles are all 1 million plus difficulty, and the mining grind is ridiculous. Well, mining is not the primary way to get uncommons. Events are. One thing that they've really stressed is that events are the primary way they want people, they want activity in the game. Mining does help, and a mining increase is coming, but the upper 20s have always been a crystal wall because of the ships you're grinding for. And one thing that I've changed in terms of recommendations, even though I still believe the Saladin is the best ship of the three, I don't recommend building the Saladin anymore for most players because it takes crystal. And the Vidar needs crystal. Your faction miners coming up need crystal. Your Horizon needs crystal. Your Saladin would need crystal. Researchers need crystal. And there's just a big backlog there. And that's also why I'm always scrapping something. So like if you're at that level, you should always be scrapping things like Fendras and Envoys so that you're getting a return from 2-star to 3-star transactions. But this talks about being very efficient. And that's how you speed up the process. And it's just being more tactical in your choices. But it's also relative too, because Nicholas, I don't know how long you've been playing the game. For me, when the game first started, it took me 3 months to get to like level 18, 19. Now you can get in that same time period, you can easily get in the upper 20s. So it's all relative. It's still definitely a grind, and I'm not taking away from the grind, but it's what's causing you the bottleneck and how do we address that bottleneck? Steven, yes, the refinery is getting an increase. Supposed to have happened in July, but now got pushed to August. So I went Centurion Augur and never really experienced a crystal wall. And that changes a lot because the Saladin, I'll tell you exactly how much the Saladin costs crystal wise. And it is a lot when you're at level 27, which he's not even at Saladin yet at 27. But just an example, the Saladin is 7,600 uncommon crystal. In the 20s, that is a ridiculous amount of crystal. Combine that with the fact that other things need it, and it's a ridiculous amount of crystal. So here, let's see what we get here in our amalgam pools. I always hate these because I feel like I get gypped. 1 Honor Guard Wharf Shard, as always. Reputation Exocomp I will never use. I do use the Klingon ones. And then 36 Shipskin Shard Trackers. Always get really bad pulls on these. Let's see, one more. Come on, just give me the biggest pull of Shipskin Shard Trackers, please. Come on. Come on. Nope. Nope. Hate this game. I hate this game. I've been at it a little over a year. I did a slow grind as far as leveling after I messed up leveling too fast. Had to play catch up with research. Wow, I'm surprised at a year that that's where you're at, but that doesn't mean that you're like in an unrecoverable spiral or anything. I would say, and I'm just going to go through some basic questions, to try to help you along. Are you scrapping ships from 2-star to 3-star to help get you a little bit more of that uncommon infusion every week? Walter says, as I understand it, Harrison's power only works on the first round. I'm 1 charge short. 1 round doesn't seem like it's worth $10. Yeah, Harrison's shield bypass works for the first round of combat. And in terms of whether he's worth it, really comes down to how you'll use him. If you'll use him in PvP and you'll use him in base defense, he's worth it. The reason that he's worth it in base defense is in base defense, the guns use his ability. So like if you've got 5 station guns, all those station guns in round 1 will use Harrison's ability to attack the hull directly. So that matters. That matters. It still, though, is going to be relative to you as a player and whether it's worth it. Because if you're never going to really use that, then should you spend $10? Well, probably not. I mean, if you're not, it's simple as that. If you're not going to use it often, then it's not worth $10. But if you are going to use it, then that ability in certain situations can be very, very valuable. So Gary says, I didn't stay long enough at 39 and push to Ops 40. Can Scopely still give out more 3-star mats at 40? 41. I still want to level up my epic ships past tier 4. No, this is one of the things that, and this is why I got in an argument with somebody, they're not going to increase 3-star sourcing in 4-star areas because level 40 is just like when you hit level 20. You stop doing 2-star at level 20. You move to 3-star. And that's basically what 40 does, is they actually are already a little more generous than the 20s are because they 20s basically completely cut you off from 2-star. The 40s still give you a little trickle feed up into the mid 40s. But that's just one of those things that we talk about camping because you want to get certain things done. Lube says you get more G3 at 40 than you did 39. It is true. However, biggest cause, I think one of the biggest reasons people, and this is why I still push 39, your leaderboards, everything changes at level 40. Everything changes at level 40. Your leaderboard brackets is a big one. And things start costing more. So like if you're going to participate in a leaderboard, you're going to spend way more at level 40 than you would at level 39 to participate and get these officers. And why is that important? Because you look at these videos I've been making over the past 2 weeks, like Strange New World Pike. If you want Strange New World Pike, you better have participated in multiple auctions. You don't have to win them, but you got to participate in them. Really difficult to do at level 40 versus level 39. So that's why I camp at 39 and then I camp at 42. Now that's a big jump. That's a big jump, but it's doable and a lot of people are doing it. Keep hitting the wall for 2-star uncommon crystal level the envoy. Are you mining for 2-star? Yeah, I still mine for 2-star. And what I'll do is I'll get one of my bigger ships. I won't put any important crew on it, but I'll get like my cavort and I'll just leave it on a 2-star node overnight to fill up and then bring it home. And then I'll refine because nobody on my server bothers looking in 2-star systems. So Lube says, I get the camping at 39 argument, but for some low spenders, 40 can be better to start amassing G4. Yes and no, and I get where you're coming from. It depends on the level of spending we're talking about. Generally, when I give out camping advice, it's for free to play. Let's just leave it at that. Unless you're spending, for me, 200 to 500 a month, you should camp. Once again, this is up to your spending level. If you're buying the Elite Battle Pass, which the $20 one, and you're buying the monthly pack, 120 a month, I think you should camp. If you're spending anything above that, I think you have a legitimate argument to push. So it varies player to player, which you want to tell everybody there's not one set of information. Depends on your account and your play style. For me, this account spends about 120 a month-ish. That's not enough for me to jump ranges. Not enough for me to jump ranges. But it also depends on your server. And here's what I mean by it depends on your server. What if your server's not like most servers and you can get to 40 and still win leaderboards? If you can get to level 41 on your server and you can still consistently win leaderboards, then don't worry about rev camping at 39. I can't do that on any of my accounts. None of them. I can't do that at all. There's not a single server that I've personally played on. 20, 32, 43, 63, 51, 189. Any of the ones that I've actually put time into accounts, I have never been able to take advantage of mid-range bracketing, I guess is what you would say. So like if I am level 40, that means most of my leaderboards are going to be level 40 through 42 bracket. I have never been able to low end of a bracket and consistently win. Whereas 39, I can consistently win. But if you're on one of those servers, and I've talked to players that these servers exist, then yeah, unashamedly go ahead and level up. If nothing really changes, you actually do mathematically get more resources. The flip side to this is always the argument that you're also spending more resources. And that's always the tricky part because you're probably going to spend more at 40 to win things by a lot than you are at 39. But if you don't really have that level of competition, move on up. Mox says no level 40 is winning an SLB on server 67. Generally what I see is level 42s dominate the 40 through 42 bracket and 39s strongly dominate. And here's another thing. Remember that 39 is such a sweet spot because you're going against generally like 36 through 39 is your bracket. It depends on the event, but a lot of times your bracket is going to be something around there. You have access to 4-star materials that the rest of your bracket does not. If anything, there's a legitimate argument that it's not fair that Ops 39 is in that bracket because you get the Parabellum event, you get the ISS Jelly Brawl if you got the Jelly, and then you also have a little easier time scrapping because you get a little bit better materials. It's really kind of OP, to be honest with you. It's not as balanced as it probably should be. But anyway, that's how it is. It is what it is. All of that, it's tough to just leave 39, but it depends on your server. And he says, what do you need to say to jump from 39 to 42? Well, here's the part that so many people get frustrated by, and I understand it. Just in uncommon ore, about 40,000. Depends on where your researches are at, though. And this is another thing. Researches are so important. Your efficiency researches, because if you don't have your efficiency or researches done, including in that stellar efficiency, you're gonna spend 40,000 just to upgrade your ops. Here, I'll pull it up for you. The raw cost, and this is one of the reasons that people will tell me that they want to camp at 41 instead of 42 because of the extreme cost. But let's go to ops 41 and talk about build cost and everything. So if we want to go to ops 42, it's naturally, I was a little high. It's naturally 30,000 uncommon refined ore. You can easily knock that down to 20,000. Easily, by yourself, just researches. But if you haven't done those, who here has 30,000 uncommon 4-star ore just laying around? Not many people, probably. Now, the good thing is going to 41 just costs commons, and going to 40 just costs your ascend key. So you don't really hit that wall until you're trying to go to 42. But if you prep for that building's wall, you're good. Now, also remember that you've got to do a lot of other things as well. You got to upgrade guns, you got to upgrade individual buildings. You can't just build ops 42. Like you can't just build it. You have to prep a lot of different things in conjunction with going to 42. But that's one of the big reasons that we push. How do we acquire the tokens or rewards needed to buy missions in the holodeck building? Future events, maybe? Future events. Right now, it's a paid item. And I'm sure there's going to be a future set that runs and pays us out better. David, thank you for getting to Cam King. But yes, what you're looking for in terms of for your... There's the Baconite, but you're also looking for the sarcophagus flags and everything. As David says, it's going to be in your territory store, but your alliance has to activate the sarcophagus forge for you to see them. Got to activate the forge. Going to 50 is killing you. K92, the 49 to 50 wall is insane. Absolutely insane. But hey, Max Heimer, good to see you. Generally, it's better to bump stats up to 300% on the ship, or is it, or run 240, 270, but run low, mid-level, below deck cruise? Depends on what you're running, JM. So for example, depending on the ship, and I might have her here. It's like for me, it's actually more advantageous for my tier 2 Tindy for this particular situation. It's more advantageous for my tier 2 Tindy here at 100% where I'm at 240, because if I were to say throw in a health officer, which I don't have one available to show. Let me just throw this in here. Boop. So if I threw in Perla right here as an example, I went up 40%. Well, math, come on, we can do math together, everybody. Y'all can do math, I can do math. What's bigger, 100% or 40%? So generally speaking, depending on the ship, depending on where you're at officer-wise, it's more effective for me to have Tindy there. Now, is it more effective for me to have Badgie? No, it's not more effective to have Badgie. But Tindy, yes, it depends on which one we're talking about. Which one we're talking about. So, Clement says there may be a sweet spot on the newer servers. On server 71, we have players that have flown up to 46, 47, and then a bunch of 39s. The low 40s is pretty light. So yeah, in that particular situation, if the 40s are open and you can win leaderboards, it makes sense to start taking, advantage of more resources and then not really have a change in your leaderboard difficulty levels. But because leaderboards for the past 2 and something years have been primary sourcing for new content, you can't just completely ignore them. Like even as a free-to-play player, you want to score in the top 10 of leaderboards. You want to. Now, you have to be tactical in when you're choosing to go after certain leaderboards and everything, but you don't want to ignore them completely. You don't want to ignore them completely. Now, cross-server leaderboards, I do admittedly basically ignore. Look at this Infinite Incursion ones. I'm currently ranked 343. There are some rewards here, but 6 million is the current top. I could probably go after it, but I don't need this. I've already got Honor Guard Wharf. I've already got him at tier 2. That's not worth it to me. I don't like me having twice as many people to go against, but you do typically want to do something. Best place to source G2 ship parts when I don't have enough Platinum. Platinum. Honestly, Platinum, because you're not used to get them from your dailies and used to get them from your natural grind, but you're not doing that anymore. Platinum is a big place for that. Now, because I don't have a ship scrapping right now, what Rev should be doing, and what Rev will do, because Rev is always saying this, so Rev needs to, nut up and actually follow his own advice. Upgrade ships. And I'm gonna have to end up spending Latinum eventually, even though I haven't done a Fendra in a while, so I should be good on Fendra. But I'm gonna spend Latinum to upgrade my ships and to get the parts that I need. Man, 15 Platinum, I miss the days when life was cheap. You've scored 0 points at XSLB. So I've scored a few points just doing some basic research. It's like, 100 rare here and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, no big deal. I'll just go ahead and do it. But Separatist does help, but it does require you to do a lot of grinding. So I have 0 people on my cross server leaderboard. Roush, what level are you and what server are you on? That is really rare to have nobody in your board at all. Is a Fendra not very efficient? Depends on what material you're going for, Robotsy. It's not the most efficient, no, but I have multiple of them. Generally, I would go Envoy here. But it's about what I have. I have a whole bunch of the interceptor parts and everything because I haven't been using them. And I have 31,000 2-star crystal. So it makes sense for me to do a Fendra because I've got tons of materials for Fendra. That's just easy conversions waiting to happen. But I never do Fendra. When I've had the monthly packs, those will pay out 2-star. So many different random events would pay out 2-star materials to me. So I'm just sitting on buttloads of it. Might as well spend it. But I honestly can't remember the last time I built and scrapped a Fendra. That's how long it's been. So it's about what you have saved up. Now, I do not have a lot of 2-star gas. I do not have a ton of 2-star gas. So your Ops 44 on server 79 going against server 80. Are you excited about that? I wish the G3 non-faction ships had better scrap rewards, even a bit of G4. Agreed, but they don't. They're absolutely terrible, which is why I also don't push people to max out their Voclus or their Damari, because they're never really going to get a big return for that. Never going to get a big return for it. So, server 67 versus 68, top 9.8, Ops 42 bracket. Okay, thank you for sharing. Find that I don't get the drops for tourists or Fender BPs anymore, still get Tala and Envoy. Well, if that's what you're getting, then that's what you run. Simple as that. If that's what you're getting, that's what you run. So I had that Fendra. See, I've got other Fendras sitting here. I've got an Envoy. That's one I'm definitely going to focus on. I don't have any Talas built at the moment, but now I need to just get this thing leveled up. So swap ship. Put the Baldor back up there. My Pylum is tier 6.5. What tier do you recommend getting it to? So the highest you can get it to without spending money is tier 9. And honestly, I like the Pylum around that tier. The Pylum stays good even in the 5th to operate, comparatively speaking. The Pylum is one of those few ships that I'm a big fan of. Just keep going until you get to a point where you feel like you're not finding an advantage. Like maybe you're just dominating and you don't need